What is up, grinders? It's the Take Your Pick'em podcast. We are live. It's Chief. We're in the building. Long time coming. Glad to hop on and talk to you guys about these pick'em sites and hopefully help you guys make a little money along the way, man. So excited to kick this thing off. And so, look, every day, man, when we get this pod going, we just want to have a good mental state. I'm all about the mental side of pick'em, of DFS. Because your mental's got to be right if you want to make good decisions. How many times have you gone on just the worst losing streak ever in your life? And it's because the mental wasn't there. You start second guessing yourself. You start making bad decisions. Look, every day we're going to kick this thing off with a winning quote just for your mindset. This is something I do. I actually listen to motivational things just to help keep my mind right, even if things aren't going well. So here's today's quote, and this one is actually coming from Bear Bryant, and I love this one a whole lot. This is what it says: if you believe in yourself and have dedication and pride and never quit, you'll be a winner. The price of victory is high, but so are the rewards. That is so true, right? So we want to make sure we kick this thing off with a winning mindset. And we're going to hop right into the plays. Hopefully everybody's here. Everybody's excited. Come hang out in the prop shop. Come hang out in the Discord channel. You can hang out in the comment section. I'll be here. And this show isn't for me. This show is for the people. So, as this show gets going, just let me know. Hey, send me a DM. Shoot me a message. Hey, Chief, we love to get this on the show. We love to see this person on the show from time to time. I am going to try to get some special guests rolling. And so it should be a good time. Now, for our inaugural episode here, what I will say is, man, baseball is rough today. Only 6 games, but we do have some plays that we can talk through. One of the big things that I like to talk about is process. And so when it comes to process, I'm big on that. I am big on, what we can do to help improve our process. And so I always like to start with the basics. And so one of the main things that we can do when I'm going through my process, look, my first page of the day is the MLB starting lineups page. Nothing worse than not knowing actually who's playing, where they're playing. It gives you a quick synopsis of the weather. And if you have RG Premium, it's also going to give you some projections next to the players as well. And I know we're kind of going to build this thing from the ground up today, just as kind of a baseline. And what we'll do as this show progresses, obviously, we'll have more and more plays every day. But today, I do want to talk a little bit of process, and then we'll get into the play. So I'm always going to go to the lineups page. I want to look and see what's happening, what the weather has looked like, even in this little small tab here. Obviously, I'll go to the weather page, Weather Edge, see what Roth has to say, see what Weather Edge is giving us as well. But it's also going to give you the total. It's going to give you the spread, who's pitching, so forth and so on. So this is just a really good resource, especially if you're on the pick'em sites and you're looking at the fantasy points projection plays for PrizePicks or Underdog or any other site. It's good to just get a little quick synopsis here. Now, for this one, this is the DraftKings tab, as you can see here. We do have FanDuel, Yahoo, and SuperDraft. The reason I like to use the DraftKings tab is just because on PrizePicks, the hidden is more conducive for DraftKings scoring. So I typically leave it here, and then I get my FanDuel everywhere else. So another resource that I'm going to use that you all can stay along with me here is Plate IQ. This is actually one of my favorite resources to kick off the day. As you can see, I've got it just on the first game, but you can see, who the pitcher is, how the bats are doing. It's going to give their ISO, basically their power, their weighted on base average, WOBA, K percentage, walk percentage. And then also over here, it's going to tell you, how they're hitting the ball, at least for right now this season. So as you can see, Ronald Acuna is hitting the ball on the ground 54% of the time, line drive rate of 15.8%, fly ball rate of 29%, infield fly balls 5.9. Then it's also got their contact percentages, so forth and so on. And you can see all that there as we scroll along. One of my favorite features of Plate IQ, which is free, by the way. So let's talk about that briefly. If you're an RG subscriber, Plate IQ is free this season. I think that's just incredible. You can get such a wealth of knowledge just from this tool alone. So if you're listening in your car and you get a chance to slow down, trust me, I'll give you the plays. But whenever you get a chance to get in the comforts of your own home or the comforts of your own office or your phone, pull up Plate IQ. It's free this season. what we can see here, also they've got the pitching stats. He's a ground ball pitcher, 57.1%. And this is limited plate appearances. But the big one for me that I love is looking at pitch data. So it tells you what pitches he's throwing, what percentage of the time he's going to throw those pitches. And then when you scroll down to the bottom, you're also going to see which hitters, or which batters rather, are going to do well or should do well against those particular pitches, so forth and so on. So like Ronald Acuna here, he's got a fastball, not so fast though. When we switch the tab, we can get to the actual velocity. So we can change it between 92 and 94. And then we see different data, right? So, and I think that's a common thing here in Plate IQ. If you look at just the regular fastball section, you'll get one thing. Then when you hop down and get to the actual velocity, it breaks it down even further. And this is something that I love to look at. Looks like to lefties, he's throwing the changeup about 25% of the time. You can change that. Take a look at that, so forth and so on. So Plate IQ is another one that I like to use. Obviously, I'm also using the BAT, which is a projection system curated. Not going to go into detail like my boy AD, but this is from Derek Carty, and he's got projections, and this is for the pitchers. So I typically keep this on FanDuel scoring because that's how it is on PrizePicks. When you look here, you've got Strider on the day, Snell, so forth and so on. And I think another good point to talk about as we dig into this slate is I won't always agree with the projections. I won't always agree with the bat. I won't always agree with our projections. And that's just an interpretation of data on my part. So, always feel free to think for yourself. And that's something that I got from a good colleague in the industry. I haven't talked to him ever, but his name is JM to Win. Don't have the imagination. Always have the imagination to interpret and think for yourself. And that's something that came from JM to Win. And that's something that's helped my career tremendously. So this is the bat. I won't give out too much of the bat day to day because obviously that's a subscription-based service. You need to definitely go and support Derek Carty. But I did want you to see that this is something I use. Something else that I use is also going to be Baseball Savant when I really want to get into the weeds, come in, try to dig through some things. Aaron Nola was a big pressure point for me this season, trying to figure out what was going on in the streets with Aaron Nola. He had just been so bad. And I did see some interesting data, did have a tick down in velocity, so forth and so on. But did want to dig in. So he was a pressure point, somebody I got into the weeds in with Baseball Savant. Also, Johan Oviedo. He was someone I got into the weeds on this season as well. I also still use Fantasy Labs, which is a part of the network as well. And I've got my own model here set up in Fantasy Labs, which will kind of give me, its projection of the top pitcher based on how I've got my model set up. I do value, and this is personal, but I do value team strikeouts a ton, which is why I've got it weighted so high in the model here. Just because, even if a pitcher is, and we'll get into it. Luke Weaver is my favorite pitcher of the day for the pick'em sites, and I'll get into why later. But that's something I weight very heavily. When a team's going to strike out, if you've got a pitcher that has reasonable strikeout ability, I don't really care what the books say. I don't care what the projection says. I'm typically going to lean over the strikeout prop if it's reasonable. So what I mean is, and I'll kind of get into that. Like today, Luke Weaver has a strikeout prop around the pick'em sites, anywhere from 4.5 to 5. And I'm definitely going to be taking more than that projection on the pick'em sites, and I'll get into why later. But you'll see as we go through that with Plate IQ. But Fantasy Lab still something I take a look at. Got interesting data here, gives you percentage. They got their own projected pitch counts, projected strikeouts, so forth and so on. So it's all in there. And once again, I've got a little model set up here. So that's another reason why I like to use that. Another one, just to kind of give you some basic data, is teamrankings.com. That's another one. I just kind of come and just grab like basic data. How many runs a team is scoring on the road? How many are scoring at home? Just basic counting stats. It's really good for that to pull it up quickly. And so that's something else that I use. Now, this is a premium product, and I know I'm going through a long list of tools, but these tools are what's going to help us continue to become profitable. So this is a fantasy pick'em tool for PrizePicks and Underdog. This is created by Chris Jamino, as you can see, and then it will also give you a list of props that you can take and then the win percentage on those props. And I think the important thing to know here is that they grade the top 3 winning percentage approximately 30 minutes prior to the DFS slate. So this was last updated at 9:33 a.m. Eastern time, and this will update a couple times throughout the day. But it will give you picks from the pick'em sites, and then it will shift. We've got PrizePicks MLB, PrizePicks NBA, Underdog NBA, and PrizePicks NHL. Not a lot going on there right now, obviously, because of the playoffs. And then we've got our premium projections. I've got this up because we do have some NBA going on today, and so I will use that as well. We've got the weather page from Roth, and then we've also got Weather Edge, and I am going to cut that off. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to talk through my favorite play of the day. My favorite play of the day is Luke Weaver. That's going to be, he's already shifted. He entered the board at 4.5 strikeouts, and so he's now up to 5 on the pick'em sites. And I am going to talk about why. So we've got San Diego here, and I've already got this pulled up for this season. So here's something that Luke Weaver does not have a problem with. He does not have a problem with strikeouts. So he's sitting at 31.4% on a K rate on this season. Even if you go back to last season, he was okay. So that's something else you can do in Play IQ. You can shift it. So he was at 21.8%. He was higher than that before, obviously coming off injury. This season sitting at 31% so far, walk rate at 7.8% and a 4.46 xFIP. Here's what I love about the pick'em sites, and especially the counting props. So not the fantasy point props, just straight pitching outs, straight strikeouts, pitch count, stuff like that. The reason I love the counting props a lot is because the adverse effects of runs aren't going to affect our strikeout props. So I love that. And so we look here, we've got Luke Weaver. Look at this lineup for the San Diego Padres. A whole lot of name value in this lineup, but I'm telling you right now, the strikeouts are going to be there today. Something else that I love about Luke Weaver today, we've got this team coming back from Mexico City, right, where they were hitting the ball was flying around, the ball was moving different. Yes, they're going to be in the Great American, they're going to be back at home, but I still think they're going to have to adjust back to being down at lower elevation. Love Luke Weaver today. Once again, he's at 5 strikeouts on PrizePicks. On Underdog, I've got to check and see where he's come in at. But once again, this is my top prop. This is my top prop of the day. Definitely like Luke Weaver. And Luke Weaver isn't on the board yet on Underdog, but he is on PrizePicks. And once again, it's at 5 strikeouts. So I like that one a ton. Reason being, look at these K rates: 25% for Tatis, 26.9% for Machado. Soto and Bogarts, obviously low K rates. Matt Carpenter, 28%. Ha-Seong Kim coming over from the KBO, 30.9%. Trent Grisham, 30.9%. Austin Nola, not to be confused with Aaron, his brother, 36.7%. I think we're going to see massive strikeouts today from Luke Weaver. I also don't think that means he doesn't give up runs. He's going to give up some runs. We've seen in both of his starts this season, 8 strikeouts, gave up 4 runs in one, gave up 6 runs in another. I definitely think he's going to give up some runs due to being erratic at times, but I believe that the strikeouts will be there. So I'm totally on board with this play. Love that one a lot. Another play that I really like today is going to be Vlad Guerrero, and that's Vlad. We've got him at a fantasy point projection. PrizePicks fantasy point projection of 8.5. They're basing that on DraftKings scoring. So I love him today. And I'll show you some other reasons why I love that as well. But when we come and take a look at it, Corey Kluber is just really, man, the Klubot is really struggling. Might as well remove that K from his name because we won't see a lot of those today, okay? Like him a ton. We've got, so Springer sitting with a 19% K rate, Bichette 18%, but then become the Vlad, 10.3% K rate, 366 WOBA, 224 ISO. And we come down and we look at what Kluber's going to be mostly throwing on righties. We'll see some knuckle curve, right? We've got that at about 40%. Vlad doesn't look good in the contact department, but the ISO, the hard hit, the average exit velocity looks really good. And I've got my looks like someone, Elizabeth Carrion, says Luke Weaver under Ks. Elizabeth will agree. Please come back tomorrow. If you get that prop right, you're here at 10:30, then I'll talk to producer Devin. Maybe we can get you some free RG premium. Looks like Elizabeth is going to be our first person to disagree today. And that's one thing. Let me plug this in as well. If you're in the prop shop, we're not going to agree. We've got some bright minds in there. We won't agree on every prop every day. But as long as there's a mutual respect there, we're always going to be looking good. We're also going to see the sinker, Vlad, 84% K rate, 59% ground ball rate. Once again, though, the hard hit percentage, the ISO is there, average exit velocity is there. Love Vlad. And then if you look, and I'm going to give out a little bit of the bat today. I've already got this pulled up. We've got Vlad projected at 2.54 bases, which is above that 1.5 base total. Really like him a ton. So those are going to be two of my top props today. Here's a prop. We're going to call this the one that I'm going to be most disagreeable on. I think most people on today's slate, when they look at Luis Garcia, I've looked around the industry, looked at projections. Looks like we're going to be projecting him under pitching outs. And even if you go to our tool here, which like I said, I love this tool. Even if you come to our pitching outs, you see Luis Garcia here. That's pitching out. Here we go. We've got him projected. If you look here at about roughly 16 pitching outs. San Francisco's, look, they're improving. Obviously, with Haniger back. They've got Jock Peterson there. I still think Luis Garcia at home. This is another team coming back over from Mexico City. I'm going to weight that a little bit heavier today in terms of the props. So while most projection systems, including the BAT, including RG projections, and around the industry are going to disagree with Luis Garcia at under 17.5 pitching outs, I'm actually siding with the over here. I've seen enough of teams coming back to where I definitely think that's going to be a profitable prop for us. So if you're keeping up right now, I'm going to go ahead and close this thing out. It's going to be a very short show. Today we covered a lot of the tools that I use. Trust me, as we get rolling, the plays are going to be plentiful. So if we want to kick this thing off, we've got Luke Weaver. He's at 4.5 to 5 strikeouts on the pick'em sites. I am taking the over. We've got Vlad Guerrero at 1.5 total bases. I'm taking the over. And then we've got Luis Garcia at 17.5 pitching outs. I'm also going to be taking the over there. Now, every day I want to close this thing out with probably my most controversial play of the day. This is the one that I think no one is going to agree with me on, but I want to trust some data here. And so what we've got Mr. Snell. He's probably, in terms of DFS and pick'em, I think Snell may end up being one of the highest owned DFS plays, and I think he may be one of the highest owned pick'em plays in terms of strikeouts over 6.5. We've seen a massive reduction in his K rate from last season to this season so far. He's sitting at 32%, had a 3.92 xFIP and a 9.5% walk rate. And this season, what we're seeing is the K rate has come down roughly 7%, 5.58 xFIP, and a 16.5% walk rate. Cincinnati has not been good. And also Snell has faced some pretty good teams throughout this stretch. I don't want to overvalue it, but Snell has been very erratic throughout his career, and he's been very erratic this season. I think my controversial play of the day is going to be to take Blake Snell. PrizePicks has a projection of under 32.5 fantasy points. I'm going to take under. I think he walks too many guys. I think he gives up one too many runs. I think he can get the strikeouts and still go under. We've seen him really push his pitch count early. This is a guy that can be at 95 pitches in 4 innings, and that's not an exaggeration. At least somewhere around, I think he's probably around 90-something pitches in 5 innings. And then what I'll do is I'm going to take the under at 32.5 fantasy points on PrizePicks. That's my controversial pick of the day. Once again, folks, you've been tuned in to the Take Your Pick'em podcast. Pick up the money. I'll see you back here tomorrow at 10:30.